Oh, this ought to be good.
On the James River text line 833-804-1140. Yeah, like any kids walk to school anymore. Today's brats are chauffeured to school by their parents in today's world.
Okay, well, they're driving to work in the dark then.
I'm just saying.
And when I was in high school, when I first got my driver's license when my friends were driving, because my parents wouldn't let me have a car, they knew
They knew how irresponsible you were.
Exactly.
That's why you work in radio.
They thought I would have thought it was a bedroom on wheels. But we drove to school in the dark. When I was in grade school, I remember walking to the bus stop in the dark because my parents never drove me to school.
I drove my kid to school.
Spoiled.
He went to like the bougiest school.
Well, see, both my parents had 9-to-5 jobs, so they weren't able to drive us to school. They were on their way to work by then.
When I got my license, I had to drive my sister to school, to junior high. So I'd drop her at junior high, and then I'd drive myself to school. My little brother, Mark, lived like 2 blocks away from the school, but it was on the way. And my parents made me drop him off at his school. Like, he could walk 2 blocks.
I remember when I was in middle school, I used to walk to school all the time because it wasn't very far. It was maybe 4 or 5 blocks away.
I walked to high school when I was a freshman, sophomore, or I rode my bike to football practice. Junior high, I rode the bus. Elementary school, I walked. Oh, that was a long walk too. That sucked. My parents never drove me to school.
I never wanted my parents to drive me to school. The farther away my parents stayed away from school, the better, because that was my freedom.
Somebody said, "Good morning, Super Dave and Rich." Absolutely correct. I lived near a high school here in Chesterfield, and I watch kids walk to school. So there you go.
And it's still dark outside sometimes.
Sometimes. All right. We've got a lot to get to. George Allen's going to join us here in just a minute. We'll talk to him coming up at the bottom of the hour. But I do have to remind everybody, here's what's going on today. Here's your Richmond's Morning News Brief. All right, story number 1. Donald Trump gave a speech last night. I'm going to say it was un-Trumpian. He didn't rant and rave. He didn't talk for 3.5 hours, but he did point out that there has been some interference in U.S. elections. Here's the latest from Fox News.
Number 1.
President Trump said in his White House remarks, as the midterms approach, he claimed the security of America's elections have been under attack.
January 2020 to June 2026. This is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy.
Documents now on the White House website or what he says proves this. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said Trump's plan was to cast doubt in voters' minds before November.
Rig the midterm elections in his favor, knowing massive losses are otherwise inevitable.
The president, in his speech, said the Save America Act, with its election reforms, can restore voting integrity. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Do you notice the intellectual dishonesty? Donald Trump said that it's been a full court press by China, gathering information about United States citizens. Pointed out there are 250,000 people they found so far on the voter rolls that are not citizens. So instead of addressing that, Chuck Schumer goes, well, he's only doing this because he knows he's going to get his tail kicked in the midterms and he's trying to. Seriously? That's why we have such gridlock in D.C., because we don't talk to each other. We're just, let me get you the next soundbite. I'll tell you this. People are having to go through this, and that's why I said this yesterday. Donald Trump's going to throw this out there and just put all our business out in the street. He better be right, and we better be able to come away with things that are actionable, things we can all agree on. If not, you're going to get more Chuck Schumer than anything else. All right, that's the first big story of the day. Story number 2, the United States and Iran. This is now bubbling up even more. Here's the latest from Fox News on that story.
Number 2.
Getting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. jets and warships launched another wave of strikes against Iran following a return of major combat operations last week. Over the past 3 days, Iran has not attacked any commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz, though traffic has slowed. The White House relaunched the air campaign in response to the regime's previous attacks on shipping.
President Trump is not going to sit by and allow these active acts of terrorism to take place in the Strait without ensuring Iran pays consequences for that, and that's what we are witnessing right now.
Iran's response to the American airstrikes, attacks against Iraq, Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait, where the Kuwaiti army says it shot down 32 drones today.
And again, the way I see it was the U.S. wants to make sure that Iran never gets a nuke. Iran, the one leverage piece they have, because they can't stand up to the U.S. military, so they say we will attack the United States economically and the rest of the world by choking off the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the oil used to go through. Now it's down to like 2.5%. That's why we see the spike in oil prices. The United States says, okay, let's get the Strait open back up. They get the memo of understanding, and then Iran says, yeah, by the way, we still want to get some money out of this, so we're going to start charging tolls. The U.S. says no. Now they're back to the Strait of Hormuz is still choked off. The rest of the world oil supply has found other ways to get around, so you're not seeing the immediate spike that you saw back in February. And now Iran knows that they can't go toe-to-toe with the U.S. Navy in the Strait, so they're attacking the rest of the countries in the Middle East, their neighbors, hoping that this bubbles up and they escalate this to de-escalate it. Remember what I told you about Russian military doctrine? They will escalate a fight. Remember when Putin was like, hey, listen, you guys better knock it off because we have a nuke. He'll escalate it in order to make someone blink. I think that's what we're seeing right now with Iran. They're escalating this by attacking Bahrain, attacking all the rest of those countries, hoping that this boils up to a point where the U.S. will go, okay, wait a minute, we didn't want to get out of hand. They're escalating to try to de-escalate. We'll see what happens over the weekend. Story number 3. Our Attorney General is like, can I get a do-over? Can we pump the brakes a little bit to the Virginia Supreme Court?
Number 3.
All right. So Jay Jones has to defend the Commonwealth of Virginia from a bunch of different lawsuits. 4 total. There's more coming, and the DOJ and the feds have another court case coming in against the gun laws passed by the General Assembly and signed by Governor Spanberger. He tried to get them all in one big court case, put them all together, take them to the Virginia Supreme Court. Meanwhile, the U.S. Supreme Court is also going to hear similar type of gun law cases, but not necessarily Virginians. Well, a 3-judge panel said, you know what? I'm sorry, Attorney General, all of these are different legal arguments. You can't just bootstrap them together. So, nope, they're all going to go forth on their own. You've got to defend these 4 different lawsuits against the new gun laws. So now, Jay Jones, maybe I missed this on Law and Order. He's asking the Supreme Court of Virginia to say, can we pump the brakes and just hold off on these? Can we chill out? Can we get Can we wait? Can we get a do-over? Can I get a break here? I tell you what, justices of the Virginia Supreme Court, I got an idea. How about we let SCOTUS look at this next year and you just chill until then? I don't know the legal precedent of that because the dog ate my law book where that must have been. Anyway, Jay Jones just floundering, try to defend these gun laws that I think are not going to stand the scrutiny of the Virginia Supreme Court or the Supreme Court of the United States, but we'll see. But that's a novel way of, can we chill for just a minute? That's some sound legal advice right there from our Attorney General. All right, story number 4. TDS is real, and I've got the receipts.
Number 4.
Okay. Trump derangement syndrome. We've heard it before. You kind of roll your eyes. Yeah. You MAGA people. Oh, you right-wing wackos. There's no such thing as Trump derangement syndrome. We just hate the president. You don't understand how much it makes me so upset. Trump derangement syndrome is real, and here's what I'll tell you why. They've renamed West Palm Beach Airport to Donald J. Trump International Airport. There you go. Spit it out, Rich. Donald J. Trump International Airport. United is now offering passengers the opportunity to bypass Trump International Airport. If they're going to West Palm, you can fly to another airport, and then for no extra cost, they'll bring you back to West Palm, so you never have to step foot on Donald J. Trump International Airport territory. You don't have to see the signs. That's Trump derangement syndrome. Are you going to offer the same thing at Reagan or Bush down in Houston, the airport, Norman Mineta Airport? That Norman Netta. It drives me so crazy. I can't fly to San Jose, California for that. John Wayne International Airport. Oh, John Wayne and his cowboy movies. I hate cowboy movies. I need to not be at that airport as well.
1 minute.
Logic says Trump derangement syndrome is real. Oh, finally, I got time for this one story. Didn't get to this in the 6 o'clock hour, but I have time for right now. Have you seen all the controversy about the Blue Angels? They did an air show, and they got really, really close to the crowd.
Number 5.
I've been coming for 10 years, and I've never seen a pass like that in my life. I'm going to remember that for probably the rest of my life.
They were flying over our heads all day. Nothing nearly like that. I would describe it as frightening in a good way, like when you're watching a movie hoping for the jump scare where it gets your heart pumping.
So the Blue Angels, I believe this was in Pensacola, where they're headquartered, were doing an air show, and they did a low pass over the crowd, and it was so close you could actually see the aircraft. Beach umbrellas popped up, and people have been yelling, screaming, that's so dangerous. I can't believe they did that. Pete Hegseth said the flyovers will continue until morale improves. And Hung Cao, the acting Navy secretary, said none of these guys are getting punished. I don't know. If I go see the Blue Angels, I want to see them up close. I remember when I lived in San Francisco, they do an air show every year there, and I would go up on top of my building, Dave, and when they were doing some of their flyovers, you can actually see the visor and the glint off of the visor with my bare eyes as they flew over the top of my apartment building.
I love going to those air shows.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it.
Did you hear all those people? Not one of those people complained, but all these Karens. I can't believe they got that.
I would have thought it was great. That's an experience.
Well, I mean, when we saw I missed the Blue Angels in DC. I saw the Thunderbirds, and you just hear that. That's American freedom right there. That's awesome. Good for you, Pete Hegseth. All right, we'll continue with you here on News Radio WRVA. Coming up, we'll talk with Governor Allen. Let me remind everybody that our show today is brought to you by Pearson Signature Dealerships. All right? Here's what I can tell you. They promise to take care of you before you walk in the door with that Pearson Promise.